Yeah, like you kind of touched yourself there. If you look at it from a competitive standpoint, and if you just put it down on paper, we lost one competitive game in the season. You know, we won all the league games. We beat Kerry in the Munster semi, and unfortunately lost the tip in a final. You know, and look, these in finals, you know, these things do happen. You do lose. You know, that is what a final is there for. You know, one team wins, one team loses. I wouldn't read too much into it. You know, I think last year when we played the Super 8s, you know, we had good showings against good showings against Tyrone in Dublin, where we were in the game for 60 minutes and fell away. We played a Roscommon game that probably didn't reflect the year we had, given the circumstances for both of us. And then this year, up as far as when we beat Kerry, you know, we'd probably shown the progression. And it was probably a culmination of 2 years of hard work to get that I suppose that notable win against a top four side.
Well, I suppose you have to be an eternal optimist when it comes to football, but I think a good league campaign going up from Division 3, that's absolutely imperative for starters, going straight back up. And probably, look, Tyrone, okay, it is a massive task, but I keep saying it's one we really should attack and enjoy. And I think, as you say, like, be competitive, but go out. Have the confidence in yourself that, okay, yes, we won an Ulster Championship last year. We got to an Ulster final in 2019. We can compete against these lads. We can beat them. So beating Tyrone, having confidence in ourselves to get to that top level, and we can get there. We've got there, and even go out and try again. Like, who's to say we can't win another Ulster title? It'd be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, like you look at the other side of the draw. You know, we've definitely got the tougher side, but then again, we fancy ourselves against all three of them. Like, although you probably would, if you to pick out of the 7 teams, you probably wouldn't pick what we have at that side. But there's no doubting that we can beat them teams. So we'd have full confidence going into the games that we could win them. But
they've serious talent in there. They've the likes of Shane Walsh, Michael Daly, and these lads, young lads coming through as well from under 20 that Park worked with before. I know a few lads from Corofin are in there now at the moment, so they have a nice setup now, and hopefully they can drive on and win a Connacht and get on then and start putting pressure on All Ireland. They definitely have the talent there compared to other counties. I know that's definitely the way Park is thinking. He's only has one goal in the mind, that's All Ireland. There's a lot of young lads from Corofin now. It'll be Dylan McHugh. He had a great year last year. Darragh Silk is there as well. These lads will be in their early 20s, 20. And he's obviously familiar from the underage of the under 20s lads. So I suppose he knows what he's dealing with, and he's a huge amount of young lads in there at the moment. And apparently they're flying from what I'm here, but we'll see what comes. Hopefully get a league campaign under their belt, and we can see how they're looking towards the championship.
And then, unfortunately, look, as you said, it ended in disappointment. And I've seen different terms or people's opinions of the year, and I think one of the words I heard was embarrassing, which I thought, considering it an embarrassment, is an embarrassing way of looking at it. You know, because you know, we had the huge win against Kerry. We've made great strides from where we were. You know, 3 years ago, I remember losing to Tyrone up Portlaoise by, I'd say it could also be by 20 points, and wondering where are we going with this.
In Division 2, they've a tough old now, there's no question about it, and just with the way the leagues are this year too, like you've only 3 games, and unfortunately we don't have a home fixture too, which is disappointing. But look, there's the Mayo game will be a tough one, there's no question about that, but the other 2 games are definitely winnable, absolutely. And as I say, hopefully we get the wins in them that'll carry them through to the championship and that big opener against Donegal and Uri.
You could definitely clinch one of the semi-final spots, I think. I think we could have, like Limerick, you know, it's head-to-head there, like anyone could take that. Tip, obviously, their performance this year getting to an All-Ireland semi-final, they'd be tough. Maybe you might struggle against them, who knows. Offaly, I think, would be kind of like the deciding game, you know what I mean? Over the years, we've had, when we could see the championship there, I think last time, before we bet Wexford, I think Offaly was our last championship win, I think. But yeah, I think we definitely could have clinched the semi-final spot, and probably possibly got to the final. Like, you know, everything would have had to go well. obviously. But yeah, I think we definitely would have got to a semi-final spot in that group. Obviously, I think you're looking at the northern teams then, like Cavan and all them. Like, it'd be very, very tough. But it would have been very nice as your first year in Division 3 to stay up there and then to get to a semi-final. Like, you know, it'll be another step forward, and then obviously the following year you'd be looking to maybe get to the promotion. But yeah, I personally think we could have got to a semi-final.
We had a difficult end to the league last year, losing to Tippa and Derry. But I think it is important for Offaly to get into Division 2 and to be playing against these higher opposition. Like, you know, obviously Wicklow are going well under Davy Byrne, and I would have played with a few of the boys on the Wicklow team in college. Tipperary are the reigning Munster champions, and Limerick, if it wasn't for a kick of a ball, they would have bet Tipperary. But it's probably our best chance in a few years to try and get out of Division 3 and get into Division 2. Realistically, every game I want to play, I want to win. So next year I'd be targeting trying to get to Division 2, and then maybe trying to get to a Leinster semi-final. But then looking further, like at the moment, obviously Dublin are superior to everyone else. So unless the gap is closed, you can't say. I'd obviously love to say I would love to win a Leinster championship, but you have to be realistic as well. Unless that gap closes over the next few years, it's not going to happen.
Well, you can't really look beyond your good county yourself, the Dubs. Look, it's hard to see why is really. Obviously, Dublin and Kerry. I think there's huge pressure on Kerry this year, I feel. To perform last year, massive disappointment. I think there's massive pressure on them, really. The Dubs will come back, like they always do. I think they'll put pressure on themselves to have a good league campaign, especially after kind of get caught with the trend. They'll be mad to hit the ground running as well. And yeah, the Dubs and Kerry, and I suppose them two teams really are the teams we're probably all banking on to save the All-Ireland series, Aaron, as well, because who's going to beat the Dubs? There's so much pressure on top with this Kerry team. Will they deliver? Can they deliver? This is the year to see it, because Peter Keane, I think was a Kieran Whelan who said to me a couple of weeks ago, is it an unhappy camp at the minute? We'll see what the crack is this year. David Clifford, I'm presuming Australia's surely coming knocking for him. He's staying around, so will he have a big impact this year?
Yeah, it's going to be tricky. Look, we're in Division 4 for a reason, I suppose. You're only as good as your last few games, and that's where we've ended up. So, look, you can't write anyone off. They're going to be tough games, and it's going to be tough to get out of Division 4. And as I said, your first two matches are normally really massively important and how the season's going to go, and they're going to be even more important now with only having 4 teams in the group. So look, I suppose you have to target that first game and try to get 2 points on the board and give yourself a fighting chance. So look, obviously we're aspiring to get out of it, Division 4. I think anyone who's down there is like, so. Look, we're going to aim for it, I suppose. But as I said, you can't look away that first game because it's so massively important to give yourself a chance. If you lose that, I think you're up shit creek, really.
And it's going to surprise a lot of people. And it's something which is going to raise eyebrows. But I actually think we're going to finish bottom and get relegated. I actually can't. I just think we don't have a good. Just with the league things, and I think that's going to be it. So yeah, it's going to actually raise eyebrows. Leagues, I've never really seen us as being a league champion. Like, there's been plenty of years where I thought we'd won in All-Ireland, but there's never, I don't know what it is about the league, but I just don't feel like we're a league sort of team. We just, I don't know, we seem to experiment it, like, when they've only won one division, one title within my lifetime. So like,
yeah, well, the focus is always on the championship. Yeah. That's always the way. But any game you're in at that time, that game is really important to win. And look, they won it last year. They'll want to go out and try and repeat that. And but they'll want to one-up it and try and wrestle Sam Maguire out of Dublin. That will be the top of their list of priorities. And I'd say that they've probably been working pretty hard over the winter. I'd say that probably drove a lot of them on over the winter, was the thoughts of, I don't want to go through that again, what I went through last year. So I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure it doesn't happen.
I definitely think Kerry would be the team, and I'd have Dublin, Kerry, and then I'd have those 3 teams that you mentioned, Donegal, Mayo and Tyrone. Like, Tyrone, I don't know what it is about them, they just flatter to deceive me every year. As soon as I get on that Tyrone bandwagon in terms of, okay, they'll be our nearest rivals, they just don't seem to get there. And I think it might take the new coaching team there a little bit of time to get going with the players. Like, it's very hard to ask from one season to come up with an All-Ireland fight, like an All-Ireland title, something Tyrone haven't done since 2008. So I don't think that I really just think it's Dublin Kerry. Like,
Monaghan to finish top, actually, which is strange, just because similar to Roscommon and Galway, they're not going to go out and win the All-Ireland, but and then the thing about that there, so I say they'll beat Roscommon, and then Tyrone and Galway squad's quite running. You look at the Tyrone forward line, it's very hard to look past them beating Galway, and then you have an all-Ulster final of Tyrone and Monaghan. And, you know, while Tyrone might have that bit more quality in paper, Monaghan, it's kind of, they have this golden generation, and they will be disappointed they maybe never took Sam to Monaghan. But I just think, you know, you look at everyone there and you look at the age profile, kind of early 30s and all the rest, I think it just feels like it's the last big chance of them winning something serious for that Monaghan group. I just feel there's just that occasional element to it, and it's not element, and obviously it is a local derby and it will form kind of can go out the window in some of those games, but I just feel it's just Monaghan's year, just with the way they're young, even with their manager suspended. And
I think Tyrone will upset a few people. I think they look very good, and on the previous episode of my podcast I had Owen Mulligan on, and he was saying, yes, Mickey Harte was outstanding manager, don't get him wrong now, but the game of football has moved on, and Tyrone need to play their players in their rightful positions, and I think they'll do that now with Brian Dooher and Fergal Logan in charge. The likes of Darragh, Cavan, Tyrone Quinn coming through, obviously Conor McKenna, Cathal McShane coming back from injury. Tyrone have an abundance of talent in that team, and I'm hearing as well Colin Cavan might be returning from retirement. I'm not too sure about that now, but I think Donegal will be up there as well. For the semi-finals, I think it'll probably be Tyrone against Dublin. Tyrone will win that, in my opinion. I think Dublin, as I said, will rest a few players. Donegal, Kerry, I'm going to say Kerry will win it. And I'm going to say Tyrone will win the league. I think it'll be a huge practice to try and stop Dublin in the actual All-Ireland Championship.
Probably go with Kerry or Tyrone, I think. I think they're two teams with a lot to prove. Maybe Tyrone. I might just go with them. I think they will finish in the top two in that group anyways. Obviously, for All Ireland late in the year, I'd be back in Dublin. Like I said last year, I was kind of surprised last year that everyone was nearly tipping Kerry, and people, I don't know whether it was Desi Farrell coming in or something, but it just Dublin. I didn't see them getting any worse. They won their 2 league games last year before the championship, and they just looked as far ahead as everyone as they had the previous 5 years. So I'd probably just go with Tyrone. The new management, I even was chatting to Niall Morgan, and he seemed to be, eager enough to get started with them. And I think Tyrone needed a change with Mickey Harte. I think he's done great stuff for Tyrone football, but again, maybe a bit like the Arsene Wenger thing with Arsenal, just hung on them 3-4 years too long, I think. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was a Kerry-Tyrone final. Dublin kind of, again, blooding the players. They'll be fine. There'll be no relegation or anything. They could easily get to a final.
It's a real interesting one. Like, I'm looking at it here. You've the North, Division 1 North, and you've the 4 Ulster teams, and then you've Kerry, Roscommon, Dublin and Galway. Looking at the North, I think we'll see probably Tyrone and Donegal go through. I have a feeling. I don't know, between them, I think it'd be interesting to see. Like I said, I haven't seen them play in quite a while. Who do I fancy? You've Mickey Harte's gone. I don't know what Tyrone are going to be like, and then Donegal are a decent outfit as well. So I can see one of them being in the final. Then we've obviously, I think, Kerry and Dublin that'll go through on the other side. Overall winners, I don't know. I think it's going to have to be Kerry or Dublin. Kerry's last year champions. They had a poor championship performance, but they won the league. So I think they'll have a lot to prove to their fans after letting them down. And then, like I said, Dublin have just been the best team over the last few years. So I'd expect them to put in a good league performance as well. So I think it's between Kerry and Dublin, which is the south side of the division. But they're my 2 favourites. I was
walking off, and I think there was a Northie producer or something was standing there doing an interview with some of the managers or something, and he kind of said, "Oh, Sam, unbelievable," or whatever kind of thing. There was a little comment made, and I was thinking, after about why you even talking to me, that sort of way. And then I sat in the dressing room and someone said, "You score everything." And I was then I thought about it more and more. I suppose it just registered then. But like people have said it to me, it's been talked about. It makes no matter. All I wanted was another game in the Leinster Championship, I suppose. And I felt we had got that. I was playing really well. I was after playing well against Cork, played well against Down. And I suppose if we had got another game, I thought that I could have done even more, that sort of way. So look, it wasn't a thing that I looked into too much. I suppose, look, it was a once-off occasion. It'll probably never happen again, ever with anyone. I don't know, like, it's mad, but it was just the way it happened. I think we scored 4 frees, like, and it was a miserable day for the match, like, and it wasn't high scoring. 1-7 isn't much for a championship match. So look, it was different circumstances. You're playing in winter, you're playing championship game in winter. It's not like your summer ball where everyone's flying and bouncing off the ground. So look, it was a strange one. Didn't think about it too much, I suppose, and was just really disappointed we didn't win, I suppose.
I think, look, that's completely up to us. It could be very easy for us to go out this year and fall into our shell again and end up losing, by 10 or 15 points like we've done in the past. So I think it's something that we have to drive on. We've had 2 years now where Super 8s, probably had a few moral victories in that we played well against top sides, didn't get the result, got a big result last year, and that window to progress is there for us now, and either we go through it or we could end up falling away for another couple of years. So I think that's something that's on our shoulders now, and no one else is going to do it for us.
Mayo, again, those retirements are going to hit them. It'll take them 2 or 3 years. I do think they'll come back in some capacity. They're a well-supported county. Do a lot of fundraising there to support their county team, and you really see the fruits of it, the way they've produced every single year in terms of getting to All-Ireland semi-finals and finals. But for me, Kerry, like, if they can just find a way to play a little, like, I don't know why they're going for this defensive approach against Dublin. Like, I think the way they played, like, they had Dublin beaten, didn't they? Like, they were 1 point up. I think it was David Moran got dispossessed. Like, they had an extra man, and like you said, like, we find this, like, playing a little bit with the club as well. You're kind of caught between two ways. You're caught between trying to be too defensive and then going for it, and you end up doing neither. So you either got to stick with one or the other, and Kerry were just kind of going down blind alleyways. Now, saying all that, it was brilliant dispossession. I think Kevin McMahon was involved in that dispossession. I haven't watched it back in a while. Yeah, I watched it in lockdown 1. I watched loads of the Dublin Kerry games now, but yeah, Kerry had Dublin beat that day against 14 men. Everything went right for them and they couldn't get it done. But saying all that, it shows you that they are, like, that was an incredible Dublin team, arguably a little bit better than it is now, I guess, because they're 2 more years down the line. Players are 2 years older. I think Kerry will give Dublin a serious test this year. I still think Dublin will win it, but I think Kerry are the team that will definitely put it close to them. Like Sean O'Shea, David Clifford, they just got to find a way to get their best team out on the pitch. And